Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 2024 Prose Notes, a graduate writing podcast.
Amazing. We're back.
Can you believe it, Eden?
I can't, but at the same time, I'm excited to be here.
Exactly.
So, let's roll with it.
Let's roll. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's been a while since we recorded. The semester has been crazy.
Just a bit busy.
It's been wild. It's been absolutely wild. But we're back. We're back in the studio. It's been too long, and I'm so happy to be recording again with Eden Miller. Eden.
Hello.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. For anyone who doesn't remember me, because I was only on one episode.
Yes, that's true.
I'm a graduate writing consultant at the Writing Center here at KU.
Mm-hmm.
I am also the editor of the podcast, so all the fun audio stuff, making sure everything sounds clean, that's me.
So clean.
But yeah, and I do a whole bunch of other things, but there's no time to get through it.
So fresh and so clean. And for those of you who don't remember me, I'm Samantha Demerly. I'm the student program manager for graduate writing and support at the Center for Learning and Writing Support. Wow, what a title.
Amazing. Professional woman.
It's so long every single time I say it. Well, today we are going to be talking about our kind of new, updated, the better version of our graduate peer coaching service. So we've kind of talked about this a little bit before on the podcast, the difference between consulting and coaching and what are the benefits of those two models for students. But we've been working pretty diligently this past semester to build out that graduate peer coaching model and to really put the peer in peer coaching.
Exactly. Actually, I am technically a grad peer coach.
You are.
I've mostly had a lot of just regular writing consultations, but I am looking forward to working with people if they want to come in for a, peer, just graduate. And now I'm going to forget the word for what my title is.
Peer coach?
Peer coach. It's been a long October.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it is now November.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's not even October anymore. But just a little bit of housekeeping up front. So this is the first time we've been recording this semester, but we are still planning on recording a full 3 episodes. So it's going to be this one, interview between Nolan Schad and one of the faculty members in the School of Education. They're going to be talking about kind of feedback dynamics from the instructor's point of view or from the professor's point of view, and then feedback dynamics from a student's point of view. So I think it'll be a really informative and interesting conversation. And then our final episode of the semester is going to be on imposter syndrome because, man, that's easy to talk about.
Do you have it? Do I have it?
Yes. Yes, we both do. It's awful.
I think everyone has it. That's why we're going to talk about it.
It never goes away.
No.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter how old you get, how much education you have. You're going to feel it.
I got a full PhD. I'm a doctor. And
you are a doctor.
I still got it.
I love that.
Well, we're going to do, our quick little goofs and gaffs at the beginning just to get some of these giggles out of our system. Eden, you're a music person.
Indeed.
You use music to stay sane, correct?
Generally.
Wow. Incredible. What music have you been listening to stay sane?
Well, on my drives into campus, in dealing with some of the Lawrence drivers, not to say that Lawrence drivers are bad, but sometimes you guys are just a little slow on the uptake.
Why are you including me in that?
I'm not hey, listen. I have no idea how you drive. But anyways, in order to stay a little sane in the car, I listen to a lot of Linkin Park.
Amazing.
And recently it's been specifically Crawling and Numb have been like the go-to. Like I get in my car, I start up my playlist, and that's what it is. Aside from that, though, on a more like academic, like music majory kind of stuff, I've been working on a paper or, writing an abstract for a paper, listening to the soundtrack to the 2018 God of War game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Incredible soundtrack. Bear McCreary does amazing things. And then by extension, the Ragnarok soundtrack, also amazing. So if any of you like video game music soundtracks, and you haven't heard that one, please listen. But anyways,
Wonderful.
Samantha, what have you been listening to? I feel like I've overshared.
No, it's totally fine. I've got kind of three main musical obsessions right now. One is the anime opening to the new Dandadan anime, which has been kind of like popping off on social media. So Otonoke by Creepy Nuts is just the song of the season, really. If I need to dance, I put that on.
Beautiful. We love it.
I've also been listening to Pink Noise, which is that I forget what
whatever hertz it is. Yeah.
But I've been doing that to focus. Very intense focus. And then the third, which is probably the most delightful of the three, is the new music from Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Because it's got that beautiful little clarinet riff in Hyrule Field, and it's just perfect. It's just perfect.
Love to hear that.
Yeah. There's like one video on YouTube that's a 10-minute loop of that song, and I have listened to it a lot.
I'm sure there's a 10-hour loop somewhere.
I hope so. I would love the 10-hour.
At the very least, an hour loop, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Wow, we've both been on that video game music soundtrack.
If video games can trick me into focusing, then I'm going to do it in real life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, weird little additional tidbit, but that's kind of part of the whole like impetus behind some of the soundtracks is to get you to focus in on the game. Mm-hmm. And so weirdly, if you listen to it while you're, I don't know, reading a 20-page article that's super dry, it may help you focus.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Pro tips with Eden.
Pro tips with Eden, a new segment on the podcast.
Well, we'll see.
well, I think it's great. I think we should add it. So like I said earlier, we are going to be talking about graduate peer coaching today. So graduate school is fundamentally different than undergrad. At the Center for Learning and Writing Support, we do have academic peer coaching for our undergraduate students. And generally speaking, we advertise that service as, hey, you need to learn how to be a student. Come talk to your peers, get some advice on how to study for tests, how to focus on your homework, how to organize all of the homework you have so you can get it done. And so, in the past, when we've talked to graduate students about their work, it's often about really particular projects. But we found that it's really helpful for graduate students as well to have these very candid conversations with others simply about graduate school, because it's a very different experience. And, a lot of graduate students are coming to their programs from very different places in their life. So we have students who are coming back to graduate school after many years in a professional setting. We have graduate students who are coming straight from undergrad, who have a very different kind of understanding of what school is. We have graduate students who maybe are bouncing around from different graduate programs and need to acclimate to specifically KU. So we've been hoping that this graduate peer coaching program can provide a space and a person for graduate students to talk to about anything they're kind of trying to wrap their head around.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great way to kind of reconcile the differences between what you understood from either your previous program at another graduate program, or if you're just becoming a first-year master's student or first-year PhD student. It's a really great way to reconcile the differences between those and kind of carve a path forward for yourself early on, especially. I think it would be something that's very helpful for students who are new to campus. But frankly, I am in my 5th year here, and sometimes I think I would benefit from a little bit of peer coaching every once in a while. Yeah. There are things that are complicated at every step of the PhD master's journey. So this is a really great space to be able to talk it through with someone who's maybe gone through some of it before and has some really great strategies on how to, address whatever it is that's kind of going on in your graduate school journey.
One thing that I think is really essential about graduate peer coaching and thinking about this like peer-to-peer mentality is that post-pandemic, we have lost the idea of a graduate cohort. Like, I think there are a lot of departments on campus that used to rely on graduate students helping graduate students within those programs and within those departments. And we've really started to erode at that peer-to-peer support that's internal to specific programs. So I still think that those are incredibly valuable spaces. Like, there are plenty of times where I'm meeting with a graduate student and one of my pieces of advice is like, hey, go talk to your colleagues. But that's also advice that you would get from somebody in your program. Like, hey, go talk to so-and-so because they had a similar experience and they might know how to handle the situation. So, you know, the graduate peer coaching that we're offering, I think, is starting to fill that gap a little bit, definitely in a different way, in a kind of more generalized way. But I hope that we can start to build better relationships between graduate students. I hope that we can kind of resituate graduate support as being kind of a peer-to-peer model so that graduate students feel like they have a community on campus and they feel like that they can talk to kind of anyone or people that they know and trust because they're struggling with something specific, and then they can give that back. You know, they can pay that forward by helping other graduate students or, you know, new people in the program. So I feel like we're almost getting back to like a pre-pandemic level of let's work together to solve these problems.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that, especially because I came here in 2020. So it was fully, you know, masks if you were on campus and most things were online. And I remember not really being able to reach out to my peers and feeling pretty lost when I first moved to Lawrence. So it's really wonderful to see like some of that coming back and that, you know, we have a service that is effectively rebuilding some of those relationships. And weirdly, you know, it's reaching across disciplines, which I really love. I think that we are each other's greatest resources sometimes. And people in different disciplines have different strategies, different ways that they went about doing things. And I think that it speaks to a greater graduate community on campus than even just, you know, within our own cohorts, which may or may not be super communicative in certain departments, or in others they might be really strong, but it provides an opportunity to reach across, you know, not just years in programs, but also across campus in general, which I think is very cool.
When you think about your programs and your departments, has there ever been a sense of internal competition?
That's hard to say. Yeah, I mean, so by the nature of like music in general, if you're someone who's on like the performance track, of course there's a lot of internal competition. So I would say the people who are doing doctorates of musical arts, so DMAs, especially within their own instruments, there is a lot of competition. For the musicology side of things, we all specialize in kind of different things. Like some of them are similar, but it's not like super crazy competitive. Like no one's deeply upset that someone got selected to talk at a conference because we're all applying to slightly different things, which I think is weirdly creates a healthier environment in that we're not all directly competing for all the exact same resources with one another. And we all have, I think, different faculty advisors as well. So we're not competing for time either.
That's nice. You know, I think there's a lot of value in having friends and cohorts and people in your department. I do recall from my own graduate experience some internal competition. We were, you know, I was from a pretty big English department, and so, you know, we were all applying for the same travel funding, and we were all trying to get time with certain faculty members and kind of recognition from those faculty members. So there was a little bit of like internal tension, maybe not even competition. So I feel like it would have been really helpful for me to have a friend in a different department, or like somebody that I knew was kind of outside of that ecosystem that I could talk to and be like, oh man, this has been happening. How do you think I should navigate this? How should I be professional in these situations? So that I feel like would have been helpful for me, and is something that I hope like this peer coaching model can fill, because we are, for the most part, probably outside of your department.
Yeah, I can honestly say that we've got graduate consultants in most
Yep.
areas, but I can say I very rarely work with other musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I work with people from the history department or
Mm-hmm.
from, I've seen a couple psychology graduate students, or
Mm-hmm.
even a few people in the sciences and maths. Although that is, as a musician, sometimes those are like scarier, because I feel like, oh man, can I really help you? But
Yeah.
I've got different strategies than someone might have in the maths and sciences, just by
Mm-hmm.
virtue of being steeped in a different kind of education. So,
Yeah.
there's always something that you have to offer. And so we work with everybody. And I think that's super cool.
Hell yeah. What do you think is the usefulness of talking to specifically a peer at your institution?
Well, I think honestly, it's really nice to know that this person is like in the same boat. So, when I speak to my faculty advisor, who is awesome and very supportive, there is a power dynamic that you just can't get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
It exists.
Yeah.
It's there in the room. It's a
It
giant
probably should be there,
giant elephant.
Yeah.
It should be there. It is there. But I really do like the ability to have a very like candid and like comfortable conversation with a peer, because they have probably gone through whatever it is that I'm asking them about,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's, hey, I'm really having trouble navigating, how to deal with like all these conference applications, but at the same
Yeah.
time I'm working on this, that, the other thing for class. Like, how are you time managing? All those kinds of things. And I have spoken to my peers about that, and it's been one of the most helpful things, because it helps you to navigate
Mm-hmm.
a space in which you're usually not as familiar if you're asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get the information, and your peers usually have it, or they have something where they can tell you, like point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like, that's just one of the great things, is that your peers know more than you know.
Yeah.
We are an enormous knowledge base of awesome people at a university.
Yeah.
Like, knowledge is the thing here. So
Whoa, is it?
Oh man, is that what a university's for? I thought it was for basketball.
Incredible. I love that.
Anyways,
We should tell someone, right?
we got this great idea. We gotta
idea.
market this. Anyhow, that's kind of like the biggest thing, is that like you're on the same like metaphorical power level as each other. It just makes it a more comfortable and easier conversation, I think, rather than feeling like you're going to be judged by your faculty member for even having these questions, because academia is a mysterious place where everything is shrouded in shadows, and you have to just figure it out yourself. You don't. That's what the graduate peer coaching is for, is to demystify and point you in the right direction, or give you some great strategies. So that's like how I kind of envision it. And like, that's the biggest benefit to talking to a peer rather than like a faculty advisor. But I'm sure you have other thoughts on this.
I think that the peer-to-peer model for me is the safest one, because you're right, you get away from some of those power dynamics. You don't have to tiptoe around revealing maybe inadequacies, or like self-perceived inadequacies. You don't have to perform a certain level of intelligence that maybe you don't feel confident in. So I think that there's value in talking with somebody who like gets it, and like you said, has been there before or is currently there. Because if you're talking to a faculty member and they're trying to like coach you through a particular project, or like a research design, unless they're like 1 year out of grad school, they've forgotten because they've been through that process so much. They take certain things for granted, which is understandable. That's what happens when you like learn and when you get really skilled at something is you start taking the process for granted. But for grad students, you're in the process. You're trying to navigate the experience of building knowledge and understanding how to speak or write in a like academic setting. And your faculty members maybe are able to kind of help talk you through that process, but your peers are actively working through that as well. So not only can maybe that person help illuminate some things you're struggling with, maybe you can also help them. You can share the load.
Oh my God. Yes. And also, we're all in this together.
Whoa.
2 movie references.
2 movie references in a row. I think we deserve a Webby. What's the podcast award?
You know, I don't keep up with those enough to know.
That's okay.
I listen to this podcast and like one other.
Wow, that's high praise. I love that. Why?
Because everyone here is super rad, and I love listening to
great.
the cool ideas from my peers. Again, why I would love to hear more about peer coaching.
Yeah. No, I really do think that, like, because I had been, and we talked about this in our other episode on coaching, but like I have been doing this work for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I was doing it when I was a grad student. I'm trying to build out this program now so that graduate students do feel like they have somebody, maybe multiple people to talk to, resources on campus that are kind of like third-party trustworthy. Like we are not going to get in your drama. We're going to help you with your drama. We're not going to stick our hands in the mud. We're going to help you get out of the mud.
we will extend a hand to get you out of the quicksand or a branch or something. We'll get you out of there.
Meanwhile, your faculty members are just like, stop flailing.
They're like, if you move, you sink faster.
And you're like, I'm trying not to move. Yeah, so it's, I think I've seen firsthand, I've seen secondhand, I've seen third hand. There are 3 hands.
How many hands?
That's 4. I've seen a lot of success with you and with some of your colleagues in the center, just helping grad students navigate some of the most emotional situations, some of the most frustrating situations, situations that on paper are bonkers. And at least those students have you. Like, at least those students have somebody on campus that they can come talk to and say, I am flailing in this situation. How do I get out of it? Because a lot of graduate school is flailing.
I am currently flailing.
Yeah.
Can confirm. That's what it's all about.
I feel like you should sign up for a graduate peer coaching.
I've honestly been thinking about it.
You should.
It's just been a bit busy, unfortunately, which is part of how do we navigate our time? How do we manage our time? Because everyone's busy. Everyone has a lot going on. And, your peer coach may be able to help you with that. Help you, let's take a look at your calendar. Can we do some like calendar blocking or like something like that? They may have a strategy that works for you. Yeah.
And I absolutely hear that issue of you may not want to add one more thing to your calendar. This, signing up for a conversation with someone maybe doesn't seem like a good use of your time when you have a lot of other things going on. But if you can take an hour to reflect, reassess, reorganize some things, you're probably going to feel a lot more confident and capable moving forward.
Right. And having a plan, too. And I think that's the thing that I would look at, like, scheduling that time with a graduate, like, peer consultant or a coach. I would think of it as, how can we make a plan so that I can be successful in whatever the things that I'm struggling to kind of put together, finish, tick off my list, all that kind of stuff. I would think of it a lot as like, I need to talk to someone about this. I need, some help making a plan for, what am I going to do? Realistically, when I walk out of this appointment, kind of what should I do next?
Yeah.
And I think that most of our, not most, all of our peer coaches would be able to help with that. And so rather than thinking of it as just like just scheduling time for a conversation, you're scheduling a time to kind of work the problem out.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, you have a plan.
Yeah.
And hopefully you will have worked the problem out and you will feel far more in control and successful than, when you were just in it by yourself, flailing wildly about.
Yeah. I don't want to give too many specifics, but last semester I was working with a student who was navigating like committee dynamics and trying to figure out how to communicate with each of their committee members so that they could schedule their defense. And, there was a lot of interpersonal issues there. There were some complications that made it seem like the student wasn't going to be able to graduate on time. Wow. But we figured out how to make that happen. Like, we figured out how to get this person basically back in the picture, like one of the faculty members back in the picture. Wow. and finalize some of the students' documents so we could get them out, get them graduated.
Get out.
Get out. My main goal for every graduate student at KU is to get you out of here.
Amazing. That's what we need. We need someone who's like, you know what? You should make degree progress.
Yeah.
Always degree progress.
Please graduate. Yeah, I'm working with another student right now who has had some like traumatic brain injuries, and so she's been having a lot of memory issues, and we're trying to figure out like how to get her graduated. Right. Like how do you navigate graduate school when your brain's not working in the way that you need it to? So we've been making strides. It's effective, and these coaching appointments, she likes having them because it helps her kind of organize all of the thoughts that she's been having. So amazing.
Yeah, it's like she gets to center herself in her academics and make some progress in whatever area that you guys have like talked about that week. And I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And from kind of another couple of anecdotal moments, we've got some students who are working through like how to start graduate school. Like they're just entering into programs. They're trying to figure out like, how do I participate in class? How do I write a graduate level paper? That's one of my favorite conversations because it really does feel like a different type of writing, a different expectation than what you would be expected to do at the end of your undergraduate degree. So what changes, what's different, what's the same? Like what skills can you still use that you've probably done 100 times and now you're just like repurposing them, repackaging them into this like heightened graduate rhetoric.
Let's all be very posh and have a cup of tea.
A sip.
Academics.
Both of our pinkies are up for those of you.
This is not a visual medium.
This is an audio podcast, but our pinkies are up.
Amazing. But I think that speaks to something that's really important is that, especially for the students who are just coming to campus, there's a lot that people don't tell you about graduate school, especially if you are coming from the undergrad side of things into the grad side of things. There are a lot of like surprise expectations of you. Yeah. And you just, until someone tells you that that's an expectation, you don't really know it.
Like what?
Well, it's just one of those things where I'm trying to think of something specific, but like you kind of talked about, how to behave and prepare for class. I think a lot of undergraduates, we hope that you read before class. It is a hope. It is a hope I have.
A new hope.
More movie references. We're on one today.
Amazing.
But for graduate classes, if you're not prepared, you're gonna have a bad time, and you find that out pretty quickly. Yes. Especially in some of the classes, like you have pre-reading to do. Sometimes that does happen to people. Not so much. I haven't had that happen too many times to me, like, even before you get to campus. But there are expectations that you are just like, it's more than you understand the article.
Mm-hmm.
It's that you have critiques, you have you're going to enter the scholarly conversation in a way that makes you're adding to it even in class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not enough to say that you understood the article.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to position it in, you know, in context, and there's a whole mess of things that we just don't talk about at the graduate level that is just expected. So things like that, how to even, you know, talk to your professors. As an undergraduate, professors are kind of scary.
Yeah.
As a graduate student, as a brand new one, they're still kind of scary.
Almost more so.
Weirdly, yes. But at the same time, you are, as you get more and more education, as you get more degrees, you are getting closer to those professors. And at a certain point, by the end, in theory, you guys are technically colleagues because everybody's got a PhD in the room. So how do you navigate the changing relationship? And it's really hard to know when you don't have anyone to kind of guide you through that, because professors do treat graduate students differently. It's a very different kind of dynamic, and you don't usually understand what that is until you've just experienced it. And so it's nice to have someone to maybe tell you a little bit about some of the professors in your department, especially like, you know, using your own cohort in that way. But also, there's a more general way to approach and talk to anyone who's in kind of that power authority position. And that's what we can help you with a little bit is, you know, we can talk to you about what kinds of things we've done, some experiences we've had as well. And especially, you know, if you're having trouble, like, you know, talking to a professor or having trouble in a class where the communication isn't working super well, we can, you know, let you know how we might approach that and give you kind of a way to do things in a professional way that both serve you and also are respectful to the professor. Respect to everybody around. Everyone deserves the respect. So, but you don't always know how to do that immediately when you get into grad school. So those are kind of some of those, like, I guess, hidden curricula things that we, you know, as peer coaches might be able to help you through as well.
When you were talking about that kind of like changing power dynamic of, you're getting closer and closer to the PhD. Everyone in the room has the PhD. This week in particular, I've been using this metaphor of the car a lot. So when you start graduate school, you're in the back seat. Like you're peeking through the seats and you're like, are we there yet?
Mom and dad are fighting in the front.
You're maybe like older colleague in the class is in the passenger seat, professor's in the driver's seat, and they're like, we're coming up on a new conversation topic, and they're doing the driving. By the time you get to your comps, you're in the passenger seat. Like your advisor's kind of telling you what to read. You're starting to make decisions about where to go in your research. By the time you're in the dissertation, you're in the driver's seat and your advisor's in the passenger seat and they're helping you navigate. But you are the one making decisions about what is my research, what is the scope of the project, what is inside the scope, what is outside the scope. And those, that changing power dynamic, you kind of have to reassess how you interact with people, how you talk to professors. And those are kind of tough conversations to have. So I think a lot of the coaching appointments I've had with students is how to navigate that changing dynamic. Like right now, I'm in classes. How do I kind of situate myself in these conversations? Now I'm in comps. What am I allowed to do in this space and what am I not allowed to do in this space? And I feel like those coaching appointments are a really good way for you to kind of hash out those dynamics and talk with somebody who's like, well, it sounds like your committee might interpret it this way. Even if we're not familiar with your degree, even if we're not familiar with the faculty members, these dynamics exist in similar ways across all of KU and across almost every institution.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you gotta figure out how to deal with, and it does. Yeah, I like the car metaphor. I also would like to add that your professor does have, like, the emergency brake pedal from, like, the
Like
student
driver's ed, yeah.
driver's ed. They do have that, and they will brake check you every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where until you start experiencing it, sometimes you just don't understand exactly how to approach dealing with the changes, because it's definitely something that, as I was going through the changes, I was like, I'm being treated differently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that I feel ready to be treated differently. And there's
exactly.
and there's elements of that as well. But now that I'm, in the dissertation phase, like I'm ABD, I'm in the driver's seat. My advisor is definitely like he may even be in the back of the car.
You're driving Miss Daisy this way.
Frankly, I am the chauffeur. But no, he's awesome and amazing, and has been very helpful. But he's certainly letting me come to him far more than, in the beginning of this process where we would have like weekly meetings, and now we have bi-weekly meetings, and that's only because I decided I wanted bi-weekly meetings. He was like, some people don't even, I see them once a month, maybe. And you're like, huh, I had no idea I had this much control. And that's definitely something that, I kind of had to come to myself, and I maybe should have scheduled a peer coaching appointment to understand, like, so why is this like I'm not sure I'm comfortable, like, how do I navigate this space, but I figured it out, so it'll be okay, and I can help you with those experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Help leverage those to your advantage.
Yeah. In my experience, faculty members respect when graduate students start to professionally negotiate those dynamics. Like, they want you to become your own independent little researcher. They want to watch you evolve into a new Pokemon.
Yeah.
So if you can demonstrate that you are starting to take agency and starting to feel, or at least act more comfortable in, like, the research that you're doing and the program itself, like, they're gonna respond well to that. But that is something that if you're not feeling comfortable in that process, like, come talk to us, because we also want you to feel confident and comfortable in your program, because that's ultimately, like, the goal here is to get you, again, out of KU and into a space where you are putting your degree to work.
Exactly. Yeah, we want you in that final form. We want you to be a Charizard by the time you leave.
Charizard, X or Y. Just kidding.
Oh, see, I was going red version, but that's...
I know. I was like,
that's okay. Well, either of the, any of the three. If you feel more like Charizard, be a Charizard. If you feel like a Blastoise, go for that.
Yeah.
Venusaur as well. It's up to you. Pick your favorite, but become that Pokemon.
You can only be a Venusaur if you're in the ecology department.
That feels restrictive, but okay.
I'm kidding.
It's okay.
You can be a Venusaur if you want. So I think one element of kind of this graduate, this transition to graduate experiences and some of the difficulties we see with a lot of graduate students is the teaching side of things. All of a sudden, in a lot of situations, you're just in charge of a bunch of undergrads.
And they all blink at you at the same time.
That's really creepy.
Yeah, they all just sort of sit there and, it's like, it's the slow blink where you get one eye and then the other.
And I guess did you get any training?
No.
Okay, cool. I'm just confirming this.
I was thrown in, like, they were like, you're like a little baby learning to swim. Into the pool you go. And,
but you're also in charge of other babies.
Yes. But also, you're like 9 months old. They're like 5 months old.
Yeah.
We have a difference in age here. Yeah. But yeah, no, I did not receive any training by KU to become a GTA or to teach at all. I was lucky in that I had one experience. I taught for a semester.
Whoa.
By myself. I was the instructor of record at the University of Wyoming for their basically their music appreciation class.
Aww.
They needed somebody for a semester, and they said, "You're hired."
Were you an undergrad?
No, I was a master's student.
Oh, okay.
So but I didn't have a TA position there. They truly just were like, adjunct for a hot second. So I was lucky in that I had one semester.
One semester.
And that semester was the semester I was like, oh, dear God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then I got here and, when I got my TA position, at least I had had that semester of lecturing under my belt already. But most people don't have that, especially like if you're a master's student and you have a TA position. Chances are you have never done that before.
Yeah.
And that first lecture is scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very scary. But yeah. Did you receive any training?
So we did.
Oh, amazing.
I loved my department because they had a award-winning first year experience, like introductory composition class. So the W101 or 131, sorry, W131 was our like intro composition class at IU, and that program was so well designed because they made sure that all new GTAs had a week-long, like, intensive training in the summer. And then throughout the first semester of teaching, they had practicum courses built into your schedule. So I was learning how to teach alongside teaching. And it was a really, really, really good experience. But I know that a lot of people don't get that. So I got very lucky to have actual training for teaching, for the course I was teaching. And I think I would have sucked at teaching if I hadn't.
Yeah, I do feel that my first month of teaching was rough, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Those poor students, I'm so sorry. My lectures weren't focused.
Did they know? Like, did you tell them?
I did. I did tell them. I was like, hey, full disclosure, because I got hired 2 weeks before the start of the semester. So I had to throw together a class. And luckily, I was given some materials, but I literally had to throw together a class in 2 weeks.
That's insane.
Had to put it in Canvas. It was a rush job. So I was full disclosure with my students. I was like, all right, hi, Eden Miller here. The lady who's going to teach you this semester. It's 8 a.m. It's Tuesday. Let's go. And I did tell them, I was like, this is my first time teaching. So, especially like with the reviews at the end, I was like, I want some really candid reviews. Like, I want you guys to tell me what worked, what didn't work. And I got some, but they were all very nice about it, which was very kind, because especially the first, I would say the first month, it was rocky, and that first exam was really bad. Yeah. And I don't think it was their fault. I think it was on me as their professor, which is, one of those things that you don't learn until you learn it. But I would have loved to have had some kind of training. Yeah. I would have loved to have had a conversation with anyone about it. That would have been nice, aside from, here you go. You're being paid this much money and good luck. That's all I got.
I will say that first semester I got a lot of support. After that, it was kind of free-for-all. And I do think that I would have really benefited from talking to somebody in some kind of structured way, because, like, there were some moments in my, like, later semesters teaching that I really stumbled because I was kind of acting without really thinking about the consequences of that action. And I really should have, like, talked to somebody about, like, should I punish my students for X because they didn't do Y? And I feel like if I had actually had a conversation with somebody and gotten some feedback on that, they would have steered me in a better direction than what actually happened. Yeah. Low moments in teaching.
Hey, it's like anything else. You have to practice.
That's true.
And until you start practicing, you're not going to get any better. And that's what I tell my flute students.
Yeah.
Or, what I used to when I had a lot of them. But you got to learn by doing some practicing, and you got to learn by talking to people about it. Because if you just panic by yourself, alone late at night, about how you're dealing with whatever in your teaching, you're not gonna probably make all the best choices, and that's okay. Which is, why you should talk to someone about it. Why, a lot of your grad peers are TAs.
Yeah.
KU has a lot of GTAs. Yeah. Chances are someone either in your cohort or at the Writing Center, your Wingspan, I suppose, is the better way to put that. So at Wingspan, I would say most of our peer coaches are TAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I can think of anyone who doesn't have one or
Has
had some teaching experience. So I mean, I think we're an excellent resource as well, which is great. It's good to have because you don't want to be eaten in Wyoming at at 8 a.m. going, I have no idea how to teach a class, even though I have attended I don't know how many.
Yeah.
You think you know, and then you don't.
And then you go on the other side, and you're like, oh, this is a very different experience.
This is harder than I thought.
It's much harder than we thought. Is there anything else that we kind of want to cover in terms of coaching before we get into a very logistical conversation about scheduling?
No, I think I just want to reiterate, the power and knowledge that we all have as a collective. We are each other's greatest resources, and that's why you should talk to a graduate peer coach at the Wingspan, because we have amazing knowledge for you, and sharing is caring.
And you can learn from us, and we can certainly learn from you.
Absolutely.
Like, every conversation I ever have with a grad student, I'm coming away with it going, okay, cool. And that's going to go in my pocket. I now have a new bit of knowledge, new experience, new anecdote, new something to kind of add to the pool. We are only one facet of probably the mentoring network or, the network of people you can build on campus. Build relationships with faculty members, build relationships with staff, build relationships with departments and units and offices. But know that, there are other graduate students on campus who are so excited to talk to you.
Oh, my God. Honestly, sometimes the best part of my job.
Yeah.
I love hearing about what are you doing to navigate this? Here's what I did. And it's honestly especially when a writer comes to me with job application stuff.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of that lately. And they actually asked me about a college that they are applying to a job for that's really close to where I live, or my parents live in Minnesota.
Yeah.
My mom went to the college. I almost went to the college.
Small world.
And they had questions about it. I was like, oh, I know. I have the answer. And it felt really cool to have that weird little connection there. And I think that that's the most exciting thing that we do in the peer coaching is we're connecting with each other. And that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that.
Anyways.
You're amazing.
You're also amazing. Man, I love you.
I love you too. All right, listeners. How would you schedule a graduate peer coaching appointment, Eden?
I would go to our website, which is
learning and
writing at ku.edu. That would be where I would go to find the information. And then there should be a place to click on about peer coaching. And then on that page, there should be a link to making an appointment, which is actually through Jayhawk GPS.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what Jayhawk GPS is, basically it's a big old system for scheduling appointments with a lot of different resources on campus, but most importantly, the Learning and Writing Center.
Yeah.
Come talk to everybody at Wingspan. But once you get into Jayhawk GPS, there is options to schedule with different resources on campus, and that would be kind of where you would find the scheduling link.
Yeah. So once you're in the system, click, I think it's just book an appointment.
I think so.
You'll have to go through a couple of drop-down menus, but Center for Learning and Writing Support, and then graduate peer coaching is how it's listed in the system. So once you're there, you can select from any of our coaches. If you've worked with somebody before and you want to work with them again, please, by all means, they'd love to see you. Or you can shop around and talk to other people depending on your schedule. So we've got a good variety of options this semester. Hopefully we'll have some more next semester. But yeah, schedule either in person in Anschutz's library, room 424, or virtual. So you can certainly have these conversations from the safety of your apartment if you want, or you can come into the center and chat with us. Yeah, so once you've made an appointment, we just want to give you kind of a quick rundown of what it might look like. So if you're in person in the center. You'll sit down with us. We'll really just kind of have a conversation with you, get to know you a little bit, set up some expectations for kind of what you would like to take away from that conversation. But for the most part, we're just going to let you talk about what you need to talk about. Eden, what are some strategies you use in coaching appointments?
Well, first of all, I usually just like to kind of sit down and like, let's lay out what's going on. And depending on the kinds of things that are happening for the student, especially like if we have, time management issues, like what I might benefit from right now, I have a lot of things that are due, not necessarily for class for me right now, but it might be for classes. There may be large projects going on for a student, but also they're applying for conferences, but also they are trying to submit something for publication, but also and it feels like that, especially. And so something that I might, suggest would be like, let's calendar block. Let's take a look at your schedule. Where can we fit in time to work on this thing? Or let's prioritize. Sometimes it's hard to decide what to do next, especially when you have like 20 things to do.
Yeah.
So that would be something that, we might try something like the Eisenhower decision matrix or anything along those lines, or the super low tech option of when is the due date? What is the thing? Get a Post-it note, write it down. Stick that on your computer and hey-oh, you've got a plan.
Yeah.
But that would be like, those would be the kinds of things that we might talk about if, you had that very specific issue of you have a lot of things to do and not a lot of time to do them. But in terms of other strategies, you'll just have to come in and find out. Come talk to me.
Wow.
We'll figure it out.
I'm so curious now.
But at the end, by the end of your appointment, we're really hoping to have had a really great conversation with you about, what's going on, what are some experiences that I've had or that you've had that might help you work through this. And then hopefully by the end, we've got a plan for you. We will help you to list out some steps of things that you're kind of hoping to do to prioritize your tasks, whatever it might be. But you're going to walk out of there hopefully with some kind of strategy on how to tackle the issue that you've been having. And, you're also more than welcome to make another appointment. We would love to see you again, especially if you felt like it was really helpful to kind of just talk through what you're having issues with a peer, with another person. And that's something that you can make another appointment. You can come back in and you don't have to see the same person again. You can get the different awesome strategies from a bunch of different awesome people who work at who work at Wingspan. So it's definitely something that I would encourage people to do. Get as much help as you want or need,
Absolutely. All right. Well, you now know how to schedule. You now know what a coaching appointment looks like. And maybe from this conversation, you've taken away the fact that, like, we just want to talk to you.
we just want to hang out.
Desperately trying to get you to come in and hang out with us. But yeah, I think that's it for our overview of graduate peer coaching, kind of the benefits, the pros. I don't know really if we talked about cons.
I don't see any cons. I see coming in, talking to us about lots of cool stuff.
It's only a net good.
Yeah.
It's net good.
Yes, true. Well, truly. And there are very few things in this life that are only a net good.
Yeah.
So take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said at the beginning of the episode, we've got a couple more that we'll be recording this semester. So stay tuned for our other episodes. Nolan will be taking the lead with the interview episode. So stay tuned for his beautiful voice.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. That's it for us. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Stay tuned and stay writing.
Happy writing.
Happy writing, y'all.